What's up, YouTube? It's your boy DR2727. Shout out to my Transformers collectors, 1/12 scale collector, whatever you collect, shout out to you. And this month's video for January 2024 is our annual Transformers rundown. And that's where we count down all the figures I bought in the previous year. The worst figure I bought in 2023 is M2 Toys Optic Girl, a cosplaying non-transforming Optimus Prime girl. And this figure sucks because of modularity. You can basically take this figure apart and make a normal human girl, but it sucks. Everything suffers because of that modularity. The build suffers tremendously for it. And we'll see later on figure that doesn't pull off its main goal because of other things. And that figure transforms, so I'm more forgiving of that. This figure doesn't transform, and it's inexcusable for it not to be able to pull off its main goal. I think this is a decent set overall. I think Ramhorn brings it down a notch. But I really wish Fans Toys would have swung for the fences and gave a little more to it. Like the materials and paint are great, and the engineering is okay. But I wish they would have did a little bit more with it. It felt like a little meat was still left on the bone with this one. I think I said everything I wanted to say about this in my 3 things video. Go check that out. But I think x-transbots cut corners to keep costs down. And this is a figure they should have swung for the fences. 1, because it's such a unique type of character. And 2, nobody else probably is going to tackle this character no time soon. And this could have been how they put their stamp on their company. But in typical x-transbots fashion, they let you down again. It's better than their normal stuff is, but it isn't as good as it should be. Yet another x-transbots figure I bought at TFCon. This feels like a really solid release for 2016, but kind of outdated for 2023. It feels a little oversimplistic and just, it gets the job done, but it's not anything that'll wow anybody. Color me unimpressed. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the oversimplicity tune accurate look. I don't know if it's the loose joints I had on my figure. I don't know if it's the transformation that I wasn't a big fan of. This figure's just a big bowl of meh for me. Fun little figure who would be ranked higher up this list if his design didn't limit his arm articulation. He can't go all the way out. But again, Iron Factory, when they're on, they make really good, really solid figures. This has a fun transformation, has a cool look, great accessories. Arm articulation is the only problem I really have with this figure. I'm going to use a football analogy. This figure from this company is like a team that's really good at running the ball. They're one of the best teams. But they wind up playing a team that's sorry, and they say that team is sorry, and they can't stop the pass, so we're going to start throwing the ball. And they wind up throwing the ball and wind up keeping the game close to a sorry team takes over and actually leads most of the game. But then the good team wind up coming back and winning. They made the game was much closer because they got away from their winning formula. Fans Toys has a winning formula, and they sacrificed it just for having a great alt mode. So if they would have done the normal things and kind of kept the alt mode in line, it would have been a lot better. But because they sacrificed, I think this figure is still successful, but I don't know if the cost of being successful is worth it. An older mode that's actually a smart reuse of a sweeps mode. I really don't have no problems with this. It's a solid figure by a solid company. Solid mode that still holds up, and kudos to Iron Factory. This may be like a 6-7-year-old mold, and it doesn't feel dated at all. I think this would be an excellent mainline chug figure, a really good third-party chug figure, and an average to kind of below average MP figure. I don't think this is an MP figure. I know people like it, and I think a lot of the reason people like it is because of the price. I think this just a decent release. This figure has a little too much Magic Square Nanox DX9 in it for my liking. And I think this is a pretty good figure. I just think that some of the ways I would expect it to wow me, it didn't. I thought they would have some like really cool engineering for a small figure, and they didn't. It's a fun figure, don't get me wrong, but it left me feeling like I wanted more. I have transforming and non-transforming figures in my collection. And for those non-transforming figures, I understand why they don't transform, but I hold them to a higher standard. This is a transforming figure that needed to be a non-transforming figure. Like the transformation just doesn't fit it. Like if you look at the picture, it's decoed amazingly. It's decoed beautifully. Articulation is pretty good. Probably a B minus, maybe a C. But the transformation takes this figure down a letter grade. And I feel like this figure would have reached its full potential if it was just an action figure, not a transforming figure. Another classic mold that still holds up. I wish KFC and x-transbots operated at this frequency more often. Now I could use a little paint and do other things, but they took a great mold and a great concept and just kept pushing them out. I have no problem with that. It's a really good figure, but it's missing that Fans Toys sauce that made really good figures great figures. And it's not Fans Toys' fault that he looks boring aesthetically, but it is their fault they didn't judge him up with like some translucence or some more shiny paint, whatever. Overall, it's a good figure. It's just they could have done more. Normally, Iron Factory runs on both ends of the spectrum. They either make the worst figure you've ever seen or one of the best figures you've ever seen. This figure is just a generally good figure. I think they took a boring character and made him more interesting. Gave him a different out mode, a different look and feel. The things that Iron Factory do best. Put their own spin on the character. And I think it was for the better for this figure. Iconic figure, and really ain't too much to say. We all know the goods and the bads of the figure. I will say this: I got the X version, and that paint does kind of stand out on it, that white especially. So I think it was worth the purchase. I think that this is what a premium plus version or upgraded version should be. I love the metallic paint, silver on the shins, the feet, and the abs. I love the tempo work. They didn't take the cheap way out and do stickers. Like, this is a upgraded. This shows you what paint can do to a figure. It already was painted good, the first version. They just took that good paint job, that great paint job, and make it a stellar paint job. So kudos to Fans Toys. One of my favorite figures of the year. My only problem with this figure is that I wish Fans Toys would have leaned more into the IDW aspect of this character, giving them more IDW faces, accessories, woo woo woo. But I have really no problems with the outside of it. I think it's deco style painted, everything goes perfectly. I think it moves at an A- level. Actually, personally, this may be my favorite mini bot, but Gears is the better figure. I think personally Fans Toys hit a triple with this one. It exudes the character. It has great articulation, an interesting transformation. That blue is painted fantastically. I mean, objectively speaking, the only problem with it is that single hip flap. Subjectively speaking, the single hip flap, and I wish they would have painted the red on the chest. But can't take nothing away from this. This is a truly tremendous figure. Kang Toys know how to make a figure. It's a shame this figure won't get the credit it deserves because it was the last figure in the combiner, and most people, myself included, were just trying to get this thing to combine it. So we quickly threw it into, leg mode and combined it. But this thing has great sculpt, great paint, great articulation, superb building materials, everything you want in an MP figure. Again, Kane Toys just know how to make good figures. If you look up quality in the action figure dictionary, you'll see Master Made. I mean, their products are premium materials, premium build, premium sculpt, premium paint, and this is no different. This figure, I had this figure before, bought it again, and still impressed with it again. The enemy of great is good, and I think this figure is the definition of that. Like, this figure does so much stuff fantastically that I think I define it more by the things it doesn't do. Like, it doesn't have that paint, which would have made it great. It didn't have that ab crunch, which would have made it great. The things it didn't have the extra sculpted detail that would have made it great. Like, the things they didn't do keep a really good MP figure from being an all-time great. One of the top 5 of my top 5, top 10 in my collection figures. And that's a shame. A damn shame, actually. I know I'm gonna have this figure ranked higher than most. I really like this figure, so I'm gonna overvalue it. But I think it's what Fans Toys normally does. They have a winning formula, right? Like, the sculpt is top notch, the build is top notch, the paint is top notch, the materials are top notch. The articulation is better. I think the only fault in this figure is that it had that fake ab crunch. If it had a real ab crunch, it'd be a real as close to perfect as it can get. I love the rewind. I think that the hidden gem in this figure makes it so top tier to me is the engineering for the transformation. The fact they shift everything left. I think that this is just a home run knockout figure. I think this is a Fans Toys performing at Fans Toys level. Shout out to my boy Transformers Toy Talk. He said in my MP Hall of Fame video that the MP39 Sunstreaker mold, or one of his kind of mold mates, should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's 100% right. This is Takara's best MP of all time. And one of the reasons why I say if Takara or Hasbro wanted to, they could shut down all these third-party companies because they can produce at a top level when they want to. And this is them producing at that home run type level. So if you want to know the definition of a centerpiece, then this is it. The paint, the build, the sculpt. You may not be a fan of the sculpt, but it's sculpted the way they want it to. Materials, everything, presence. Like, it has presence like no other. I was telling homie Gib ATL that this probably is one of the 3 pieces that if my house was on fire, I would try to grab. And so I can't say no more than that. It's just damn near flawless. This is my 8th year doing these award videos, and anybody who watches my channel in general know I am harder on non-transforming figures than I am on transforming figures, and I've never given a non-transforming figure best figure of the year for me. But this year is different. It's hard not to give this thing the best figure I bought this year award. This may be Flames Toys' best figure of all time, and the things that Flames Toys does well, they do well here, and kind of the very few nitpicks I've had with them, they don't have on this figure. So like if you collect Flames Toys, they may have a little fiddliness because of the action figure element. They got all the tolerances and everything down pat with this figure. I mean, Flames Toys always hits home triples and home runs, and this is a grand slam home run. Thank you guys as always. I'm gonna give a couple of superlatives. My most disappointing figure is x-transbots Bond James, their punch and counter punch, for the reasons stated earlier. And for my most surprisingly good, I have co-surprisingly good figures of the year. First, as you see, is Iron Factory's Collector, their version of Pipes. It's hard to get excited for Pipes, but they did a really good job on this Pipes. And the second one is Fans Hobbies Double Dealer. I forget his third party name, but I didn't know what really to expect, and I got a really great MP. And Company of the Year is Fans Toys. Look, I could say Kane Toys because they delivered a combiner and working on the Legend Scale combiner. I could say 3-0 because they are in multiple lines and doing great in multiple lines. But for me, I pretty much only collect MP, and Fans Toys right now has the MP game on their back. They're carrying the Masterpiece line. So it's nobody but Fans Toys. And the grade I would give MP collecting this year is a C minus. Basically, it's Fans Toys and nobody else. I mean, Star Toys Blitzwing was a breath of fresh air, but every other line in Transformers is thriving. Second party Flames Toys 3-0 is thriving. Chug is thriving. Mainline is thriving. Legend Scale is thriving. But MP is starting to lag behind. And, if Fans Toys doesn't release it, is it really coming out? So, I wish more companies, I wish Star Toys and more companies like that will pop up and do more stuff. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have a happy new year.